The wisdom of the old oak tree. Once upon a time, in a small village, nested between rolling hills, there stood an ancient oak tree at the center of a small park. The villagers knew it as Old Willie. It had seen countless generations grow up around it, providing shade, shelter, and a place for laughter and love. The children would climb its sturdy branches. The villagers would gather under its wild canopy, and even the animals found refuge in its broth. However, as the years passed, the younger generation of villagers began to see Old Willie as merely an old tree, something to be ignored in their modern lives, filled with technology and busy schedules. They played their games and held their gatherings elsewhere, often forgetting about the tree that had been a silent guardian to their community for so long. One sunny afternoon, a group of teenagers decided it was time for a challenge. Olumide, being the leader, suggested they build a large bonfire at the park, unbothered by Old Willie, sitting quietly in the center. "Who cares about an old tree?" he said dismissively, as everyone nodded in agreement. Happiness and energy filled the air as they gathered wood and paper, laughing at inside jokes. But as evening approached, a wise old man named Mr. Idowu, who was the village storyteller and the last remaining elder in the community, walked by. He stopped to watch the preparations and shook his head with a gentle sigh. "Little ones," he called out, "do you not realize that Old Willie has been a part of this village for many generations? He'd seen us grow, seen us laugh, and comforted us in times of sorrow. He deserves your respect." The teenagers chuckled, brushing off Mr. Idowu's words. "It's just a tree, old man," Olumide retorted. "We're just having fun. It doesn't matter to us." Mr. Idowu remembered when he was younger and how Old Willie saved his life. Little Idowu was playing in the backyard of his father's compound, too close to the bush, while his mother was in the kitchen preparing dinner before his father gets back from the farm. Little Idowu's mother told him several times to move away from the bushy paths, but little Idowu paid her no heed. While playing, little Idowu saw something that drew his attention. It was shiny, long, and he couldn't wait to take it so he could show it to his friends. But just as little Idowu reached for the object, which he didn't know was a snake, he was bitten by it. His mother, who was in the kitchen, was startled by his shouts of agony and quickly ran out to see her son crying on the ground. When she went closer, she saw the two punctured holes at the back of his hand. Quickly, she shouted for help. Little Idowu's father had just arrived from the farm, so he ran to the backyard upon hearing his wife's voice. They quickly went to Old Willie and cut its leaf and tree bark to prepare medicine for little Idowu. In order to prevent such things from happening again, little Idowu's father cleared the bush paths and warned other children to avoid playing close to any bush. With a sigh and a heavy heart, Mr. Idowu continued on his walk, muttering softly, "One day you all will learn." The bonfire was lit and the flames danced so high they almost touched the branches of Old Willie. The fire crackled, casting flickering shadows over the teenagers. They were having the best time when suddenly wind began to pick up. It hurled through the park and ominous clouds started to gather overhead. As the first drop of rain fell, panic set in. The wind howled even louder, creating a chaotic whirlwind around them. They gathered their belongings, but the wind was now roaring. It felt as if the very earth was shaking beneath them. Olumide turned to his friends, his face paled with fear. "We need shelter!" he shouted. Frantically, they looked for a place to hide, but the storm was raging around them. Just then, Old Willie's mighty branches swelled, strong yet inviting. They rushed over to the tree, huddling together at its base, seeking refuge under the wild protective canopy. As the storm raged on, rain poured down and the wind howled like a wild beast. They looked up to Old Willie, who stood tall and steadfast against the storm. It shielded them from the worst of the weather, its branches acting like a shield, keeping them dry and safe. When the storm finally passed, the teens emerged from their hiding spots, still trembling from their experience. They looked at Old Willie with newfound eyes. The tree wasn't just an old relic, it was a guardian, a piece of their community's history that had protected them when they needed it most. In the following days, the teenagers cared for Old Willie, planting flowers at its base and gathering once again under its shade to share stories. They began to reminisce about tales Mr. Idowu had told about the tree and the village's pasts. They learned that respect isn't just about age, it's about understanding the value of those who came before them and the wisdom they had to share. As the seasons changed, the bond between Old Willie and the villagers grew stronger, reminding everyone of the importance of respecting their elders, those who had weathered the storms before them. And from that day on, whenever the villagers needed guidance or inspiration, they would sit beneath Old Willie's branches, listening to its whispers, the wise echo of generations past. Now we have come to the moral of the story. Always respect your elders, for their wisdom and experiences can guide and protect you in ways you may not even realize you need.